Hey guys, so today we're going to go through the process of fixing a misaligned Pearl Flexi here. I initially thought I forgot to do the before to actually record the misalignment. So this is here already after the fact. So I already did the repair and filmed it all. And I thought I don't have any before footage, but I did make a little YouTube video, like a minute-long video for Pearl to show him what the problem is. And of course I still have that footage. So I can show you what it looked before, then the process, and then we actually do some measuring here with feeler gauges and whatnot to see if it's really parallel now. So this is the video that I promised you guys. My dusty desktop here. All right, you guys enjoy. Hi there, this is the explanation of my warranty claim. This is the Pearl Flexi bought on the Pearl store on Amazon. As you clearly can see, the top and the bottom is not parallel. We're currently at a setting 6, so at the highest setting, when we're at a 1 and the bottom plate is all the way pushed up against the top, it's parallel. And then as soon as I go up in setting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this unevenness gets worse. So this gap is much larger here than it is there. This is not a new problem. This is not a unique problem. I have read about this all over the internet. I've seen YouTube videos where YouTube shave channels report this issue. And so this should be something that you guys are already aware of. So I don't know if you have found a method to fix this, but I would like to either get this fixed or the razor replaced because this is not very usable. Alrighty guys, so the Pearl Flexi is on the table. I do not have any new updates about delivering a new Flexi to me. They said they would, but I haven't heard anything. So I don't know, but I don't want to wait any longer. I want to show you guys how to fix the misalignment on the Pearl Flexi. So if you have one of those that just has this misalignment between the top and the guard, so to speak, we're going to look into how to fix that. Here we go. So box open, all the stuff is in there other than the stand. I guess the stand is still in my bathroom. So let's take this out and put all this other stuff over here. So here's the razor. Let's take the top out. We don't need that part at all. The handle is screwed on, and it also at the same time creates the stop for the adjuster. So let's say I'm going to demonstrate real quick what I'm talking about. If I, oh, this is pretty tight. So if I undo the handle, you suddenly can adjust this thing from 1, where it naturally stops, to not just 6, but 7. And then you can undo it even further, and then suddenly 8 and 9. So the handle on this thread is the stop for the adjuster. Okay? So now we're taking the handle off. I just hold onto the adjuster here so we don't spin that off at the same time. There is that. Threaded. There is a little bit of thread locker in there. From the factory it was Loctite blue. That's a medium strength. When I had it apart the first time just to look, I put it back together with this stuff here. Loctite 222 thread locker. This is low strength, so you actually have a chance to undo it by hand, as you just saw. But it's enough to hold it in place. So that's that. So now we really only have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts left. You undo your adjuster here. And as you can see, the bottom, the guard, bottom plate just keeps going and keeps going, pushed by a spring. Then eventually the adjuster is going to fall off the thread. I've looked at it. Of course, there's probably a top and a bottom of this, but the machining on both sides looks identical. So it doesn't matter. I've also tried to flip it around to see if then the alignment with the 1 to the 6 is different or it's messed up, but it isn't. So it doesn't matter. You just put it out of the way. So now we have 3 pieces left. So now let me explain what the problem is. Let's put the spring out of the way. We're going to talk about the spring separately. These 2 parts slide over top of each other. First of all, you have cutouts here in the side, and then those bars that kind of center it and locate it. And that is, yeah, a little bit on the loose side, I'm assuming. Then you have this shoulder here that is supposed to fit right into this opening here. But they made the tolerances in there. If I put it sideways, you can see it a little better. So this shoulder and the opening in that lower part is just way too loose of a fit. This would have to be a little tighter to actually guide it. And then it would also be a good idea to make the shoulder a little longer. I know there needs to still be a spring in there. I know, I understand. I understand why they made it so short. But if this would be a little longer and a little bit thicker in diameter. Here, just talking about diameters. My fancy plastic calipers come out. This is in millimeters, so I'm a metric guy. This shoulder here is 10.3 millimeters. And the opening in here is 10.6. Yeah, so 0.3 millimeters. I think they kind of did that intentionally, so they don't want it to seize up. So overall, I can't blame these 2 parts. So you have those 2 side plates that kind of guide here at the bottom. And you have this shoulder that this opening rides on, right? And we really only have an adjustment range like this, maximum, right? There is no adjustment going on like this, right? But then between the bottom in here, this shoulder that you see here, this shoulder and this shoulder, we have a spring. This is a stainless steel spring. I don't know what kind of spring rate. It's a pretty stout little spring. When you wind a spring, even though they flatten out the last loop here of the spring, if you don't take the spring and grind it off at the end, make the end flat, if you don't do that, the 2 ends are not going to be parallel to each other, and the ends are not going to be square to the spring. So you want this square, and those 2 ends need to be parallel. So if you have a spring that is not ground off on each side, the 2 ends are not going to be parallel to each other, which then in turn tips the 2 parts that are supposed to be perfectly parallel, tips them at an angle. And this is exactly what's happening here in those misaligned flexis. So the only part that we can easily manipulate and make better is the spring. I have a little 1950s Craftsman lathe down in my garage, which we're gonna go to right now, and we're gonna fix this spring. We're looking at my little 1950s Craftsman lathe. Has a 3-jaw chuck that will help us to hold the spring in place here. So we're just going to stick the spring in here very loosely, tighten up the chuck. So I'm just doing it so that the 3 jaws hold the spring. I tighten it up, and now we're going to do a quick little test run. So the spring runs pretty smoothly in there. Just the end is wobbling, as I mentioned, because they didn't grind it off. I bought a brand new whetstone. I already have one. The problem with stainless steel is if you use, let's say, a grinding wheel, a grinding stone that you have used for normal steel, for mild steel, and then you touch stainless with it, you might introduce, you know, ferrous material into it, and you might cause rust, even on stainless steel. So if you use an angle grinder that you just cleaned up your garden fence with, and then you grind something out of stainless steel, you will make the stainless steel rust. That's why I bought a brand new one. Just in case you guys want me to fix your Flexi, I have this brand new clean whetstone. There is a 400 grit and 1000 grit. I'm going to use the 1000 grit side. Usually you would use water on a whetstone, right? But I don't want to introduce water to my machine here, so we're going to use WD-40. It's pretty thin. Oh. Spray nozzle closed. Let's open that just a little bit. WD, let it soak in. This is just a little bit of lubrication. We're not going to put this stone into any tool holder. What we're going to do is we're just going to touch the end of the spring. Let's turn it on like that. And we're just going to touch the end. You see the stone wobble a little bit? That is because the end of the spring isn't straight. So we're just pushing up against it a little bit. And the abrasiveness of even this 1000 grit here is slowly taking away a little bit of material. We don't want to take too much material away. We're just sanding or grinding off, polishing more or less that little end of the spring and make it flat with the rest. And you don't need to worry about if I hold it perfectly perpendicular, because we're spinning it. So if the spring would stand still and I would start sanding like this, then I could make it even worse. But since we're spinning it, and I'm only touching the end, the wobble has already mostly gone away. This doesn't take long. So there you can see that it's in fact taking material away. This feels perfect. Hiding my chuck key from myself. So now we're taking this loose, turning it around, and doing the other end. So just like that. Tightening it up, not too tight. You don't want to crush the spring. Let's do a test run. That looks good. I am pretty much looking at the side of the spring. I can see whether or not it's running more or less straight, but I can see the wobble of the end. So we're putting a little bit more WD on there. And we're spinning it again. There's wobble again. Now this side is not quite as bad. Very little pressure. This is already, this one is already pretty good. So you do this until you feel like it's more or less smooth. Like that. So now we have straightened out both ends. Let's see if I can show you the end of the spring in a very close up. Let's see if it focuses. There. So now the end of the spring here is not a round wire anymore, it's flattened out, and it also ground off a little bit over here, and the same on the other side. And that's it. That's the whole operation. Very easy to do. And now we're going to go back to the desk, put the spring in between, and see how straight we can get it. So we're back at the desk. Spring in front of me. There might be still a little bit of some grinding material, some abrasive material, and some metal that we removed. You can, I don't know if you guys can clearly see the flat ground ends here. Oh yeah, you can. I have some 91% isopropyl alcohol that I'm just going to rinse the spring off with, like that. Just wash it off a little bit so we get the leftover from the sanding. See, there is some stuff coming off. Wash that off. Here, let's do that off camera real quick. And now it really doesn't matter in which orientation we put that in here. Here, by the way, we're going to do something else. We're going to do a little bit of cleaning of the threads. Again, take some isopropyl alcohol. And we're going to clean off the external threads here on this part. Internally, that's going to be a little bit more complicated here on the other side, on the little adjuster knob. But at least one side we're getting clean. Let's do the adjuster a little bit. So we're getting most of the thread locker out of there. So that's that. So now the spring, since the end is perfectly flat now, focus, it's flat now, will sit flat on this shoulder, and it will sit flat on the shoulder internally here. There is a correct or incorrect orientation here of this part. We just have to try it out real quick. So we push that on. We grab our adjuster here. Like I said, it makes no difference. I've tried it already. You can flip this around and it will not mess with the adjustment. The only part that messes with the adjustment is this one here. There you go. So that it slides in. And then we're going to tighten it up first to all the way in. And what did I say? The little red dot is supposed to be here. So I put this part in upside down. But it's easy fix. You just undo it one more time. Take the adjuster off. Turn this 180 degrees. And put the adjuster knob back on, if we can. Here we go. So, and of course we want to be able to see the number 1, so we turn it around all together. Make sure you get the end caps sliding into the groove here. So like that. So now we have the 1 at the top again. And now the red dot should come to a stop roughly right there. Goes a little past it. Yeah. So this is now perfectly parallel here, right? You see that? Now we're going to open it up to a 6, which in normal conditions should be the maximum. So turning until the red dot shows up over there, that's a 6 also. Ooh, focus on the silver thing, camera. There. See, there's still the wobble, but now in here is the spring pushing those two parts apart, almost 100% parallel. So I'm not squeezing anything here. We can see that this is parallel. Let's go a step further. I'm going to get a feeler gauge and we're going to measure whether or not this is truly parallel right now. So head is adjusted to a 6. I have a set of feeler gauges here. I already tried out which distance between the top here and the bottom it is. So we are at 0.65 millimeters. So those two plates here together, two feeler gauges combined, 0.65. So we're just gonna, let's see if we can make this visible for you guys. So this is 0.65 and this is 0.65 with the same amount of friction, and 0.65 in the middle. Oh, thanks camera. There you go, middle. Both sides have the same amount of friction plate going in. So we managed to get it at an adjustment of 6 to be parallel to each other. Another thing that you can check after the fact is if the bottom here is more or less in line with the end caps here. Before I had one side that had a step and the other side was flat. And this is not a perfect gauge, of course, because you don't know if those end caps are machined perfectly. Man, camera, you're focusing on everything but the thing. Yeah. So the ends here more or less parallel, but more importantly is this is where the blade sits and this is your guard. And here I demonstrate one more time, there is still wobble in there. The wobble we're not going to get rid of. This is just machining tolerances between the parts. So now the next thing is we need to grab our handle and the head that we just assembled. We need to use I will use the low strength. We cleaned the threads. The problem is that the adjuster and the handle use the same threads. So you don't want to glue your adjuster in place, right? So you don't want to get any thread locker between your adjuster and the threads. You only want it between the threads on the handle here, inside the handle, and the outside thread here. So what I do is I just take my little Loctite bottle and just put a drop in here. That was a lot. That was not like just one drop. That was several drops. So we're just soaking up some with a paper here. So there's a little bit in the threads. And now we're going to just screw that on like that. You will have to hold on to the head pretty good because there is a little bit of friction already. And then we want to get to the point where the handle touches the adjuster. Like that, I think. No, we're not there yet. Oh, yeah, it's a little tight from the previous Loctite application. No, we're still not there. Okay. Not there. Oh, we're almost there. So I told you that the handle, the top end of the handle is literally your stop for your adjuster. So now we can still turn it. This is 7, 8, 9. So we're not quite there yet. You have to turn this on, like I just mentioned, this is pretty hard to turn because there is still old Loctite on it. But now you can see I've screwed this on far enough that the top of the handle, my goodness camera, that the top of the handle becomes the stop for the adjuster. I cannot turn it any further. So if you want it more aggressive than 6, you can undo it like a quarter turn, half a turn, something like that. And now, since I don't want this to get glued in place, I put it to a 1. So I put the adjuster as far away from the glue containing handle as I can and let it sit for a day so that the Loctite in here can solidify. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, so it goes to 6 1/4 roughly. Parallel. Very parallel. That's the fix. That's it, guys. So polishing off the ends of the spring, making it more square or parallel. And that's it. And then you can put your razor back together. And you have a aligned Pearl Flexi. Much, 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 much better than it was before. And this is a perfect solution for me. So I don't need to fiddle with this any longer. I don't need to send it back to Pearl. Like I said, I haven't gotten a replacement, even though they said they would. That was about a week ago. So I think I'm happy with this. I can now keep shaving with it and try it out again. Not cut my face up. So that's it, guys. I hope that helps you guys. Give me some comments, some feedback, what you think. I know the video footage here, this is just horrible. My camera just doesn't want to focus on this shiny thing. But this is my method. If you are interested, shoot me an email. There is an email address in the About section on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested, you can send over the entire razor or just the spring if you dare to take it apart yourself, and I can polish that up for you and send it back to you. We'll figure it out. So if you're interested, let me know. All right, guys, take care. Bye.